Okay, and it's a list of deeds, like heroic deeds you can perform, and XP rewards for them. But some of them aren't. Okay, so some of them are like clearly like what we'd recognize as heroic, like win an easy battle, win a difficult battle, answer a challenge reputation, overcome a rival, fulfill a heroic vow. So I like that one. But some of them are like overindulge in a vice, and every clan has its own vice.
Mm.
So if you are playing this game and you have shared XP, like if you do something heroic, everyone in your shared brotherhood also gets a share of that XP. So you're kind of incentivized to go along with each other's indulgences. Let's say that you have a radioactive scorpion in your party, and they're like, "Okay, guys, I'm technically related to the king of hell. My grandfather was a Rakshasa, and his grandfather was Ravana. So I have a free pass to go into hell. Let's go have the most epic bar crawl ever." That is legitimately a thing I have tables for, and you get XP for doing.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I think I think as a design element, what a lot of designers don't seem to understand, and I guess this is tangentially related to my recent video about 5e, where you're just sort of given XP for killing stuff, and
Yep.
so we're not surprised when we have a lot of murder hobos in our 5e games. That's not always the case, but and you have products like Adventures in Middle Earth that sort of give you XP for doing certain things like we're talking about. We're kind of directing you away from, you don't have to kill everything. You can broker a treaty, or you can do this heroic deed over here, and that will also earn you XP. But I do think that in a lot of modern games, and maybe it's this video game mindset, I don't know. But in a lot of modern games, not just 5e, but like we don't know how to incentivize people in games to do the thing we want to do. And so there's always that like disjointed feeling, I think. So I think actually thinking about that, I mean, that's what I had to do in Makuhito. That's what it sounds like you're doing in this. Like
Yep.
that shows you're not gonna have these problems. So I think where people are sort of like, why is my game full of murder hobos? Like I don't want them to be murder hobos. It's like, well, you set up the you put the carrot as like you
Yeah.
get the carrot when you become a murder hobo. So
Well, and here's the thing. I think that part of the fun of tabletop role playing games is that you can do anything. You can kind of Grand Theft Auto these bad boys, right? You don't
Mhm.
have to, like a lot of like video games and what have you on the rails being a good guy. But like Dragon Age, or no, was it Dragon Age? I can't remember what it was, but there's a few of them where you can just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna stab the shopkeeper. Let's see what happens. Um, the strength I think of tabletop role playing games is that they have a consequentiality to them. There's no save states or anything, right? So if you are like, I'm going to kill a shopkeeper, ha ha ha, like that has ongoing ramifications, and because of that, there is a true morality that can emerge within the context of characters, like their ethics matter. And like, is there any other medium, like interactive medium, where that's the case? I don't believe so. I think that that's pretty unique to tabletop role playing games, and you
Mhm.
can design for that because of that
Yeah.
consequentiality. If you save the life of an important NPC in my game, you get XP for that. But in addition to that, you've saved someone's life. That matters. That NPC sticks around. If they know kung fu you don't know, they can teach it to you. Your relationship with them matters, and because I want to see you doing that, increasing that relationship, interacting with them, I want my NPC to matter. The fact that I've made those incentive structures within the context of the game means that players have a reason to not be murder hobos, but they have the freedom to kill that guy if they want. They can be murder hobos, and what happens at your table is up to the players ultimately, not up to you as
Yeah.
the GM. So if you don't want murder hobos, incentivize them not to be, then punish them appropriately within the context of the game for doing so. Simply not having access to both the XP from saving him or the resource of him being able to teach you is a negative in this game. Is their jollies worth that? Not to most players.
Yeah, especially if you preface it by saying like, well, this guy has a technique that you don't know, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
maybe I do want to save him. Like,
Right. Give them character knowledge. Your character knows this guy and knows that he's a good person and will help them. Jesus. I'm just gonna start hacking on camera over here.
Yeah, I think having different sources of XP is important. Like in my Blacklight supplement for Shadow Dog, Like I have like a little list of like what stuff gives you XP. It's like saving a survivor, like will give you XP. And then saving a survivor that's a VIP, like a scientist or something gives you more XP. So yeah, it's not just like shooting stuff in the face.
Well, yes, and also but saving a scientist would be a really big thing within the context of the player's experience in the game too. Having
Yeah.
that guy on your side matters in your games because you, like us, design consequentially with an idea
Yeah.
that what the players do is an ongoing impact in the world.
Yeah.
Um, that's amazing. I love that, and it's an experience again you really can't get other places.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that you put like I think we talked about this in the last conversation, but I'm
I
glad that you put thought into awarding XP, because that is the carrot in front of the cart for a lot of players, and wherever you point that carrot, that's where they're going to go. Wherever the carrots are, wherever the reward is, that's just
well,
how we as humans work.
Another benefit of tabletop role playing games is that they're constantly changing. Your experience as a player means your avatar strength is consistently increasing, and you want to do the stuff that lets that happen. So, yeah, that carrot is important because even if they don't necessarily want to do it, they need to get that experience out of the game. So, what do you want them to need is a really good question to ask yourself as a TTRPG designer.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I love D&D, and to me, it's one of those things where people kind of poop on gold for XP. They don't seem to get it,
Oh, they really don't.
But
I
but
for
but
so long I was one of those people, but man, Axe made a believer out of me. The
yeah.
Adventure Conquer King system, and I have been a convert since then.
So like when you see that, and it's like, oh well, now the gold, it's not that it's like this, it's abstracting out this idea of like getting me out there to explore and to delve and to go into these dangerous dark places, and for wealth and riches is a perfectly fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
like in our world, in our world history, like people literally sailed across oceans and died horrible deaths to try and find spices to make food taste better. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
like that wasn't even gold for X. I mean, the gold was also part of it too, but like we have to understand that this is a perfectly fine motivation.
Right,
But
and legendary, actual real life legendary people were forged in the crucible of attempting to do that and doing it successfully. And the distinction between those that died and those that became legends is did they come back with the spices, not did they kill a number of orcs on the way there.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that's an abstraction. It's the same thing as HP is an abstraction for your health overall and your ability to withstand like danger and not necessarily damage. Like
Yeah.
make gamey
Stamina, luck,
abstractions.
all sorts of things.
Fate, yeah, it's kind of like that's more or less your plot armor in D
Yeah.
and D. But like, we're not just doing a scientific recreation of fantasy physics. There, we're also taking our myths and how those myths work, the kind of dream logic of how they work, and making that real as well. And I think if you don't recognize that, if you're just doing it scientifically, that's when people come to these conclusions where it's like, well, I could take infinite damage until the last HP, but you can't, right?
yeah,
You're using a very modern, very scientific worldview to look at this design, and it's not really design that's appealing to that. It's a design that's appealing to the sort of subconscious, like myth making reality that stories are made out of. There's no dragons either, dude. Like, you could go on about like, well, here's scientifically why a dragon wouldn't be able to fly, but like, I don't care. Like, it's a dragon. Of course, it has wings. It can fly. It's a magical dragon. We suspend our disbelief for that. But it's not just a suspension of disbelief. It is an acceptance of the myth reality of the world. It's okay to accept a non-scientific basis for a fantasy world. Like, why would people act like that's some kind of sin? But it's like, of course you do.
yeah. Well, like we even in your game too, I remember talking to when the last conversation we had, talking about how like you're trying to simulate this idea of like you're this kung fu guy with like supernatural kung fu powers, and all of a sudden you're facing off against a tank or like this armored vehicle, and you just run up and you just like kung fu punch it and explode it. Like you can totally do that in Lethal Fist, and
Yes.
that is not possible in real life. I don't know if
Not
anyone
even
needs,
slightly. Do
but
not attempt that. It is suicide.
yeah, but within the myths that you're talking about, the media that you're talking about, you're trying to simulate that thing that happens, where when we watch that myth, that anime, that cartoon, that movie, whatever. When we watch Superman, punch through a tank,
Yeah.
we're like, we're able to suspend our disbelief because of the internal logic of the myth there, and we have to be able to like turn our brains off and enjoy it.